and watch the whole entire show. I appreciate that. I'm hoping that more people actually come out and say this, and because we're so close to getting exactly what everybody's been looking for, a way to get energy that they don't have to pay for. Because remember, even if you say free energy, they have a problem with you saying that. And so I have to clarify it. If you want what we call free energy, energy that you don't have to pay for through a grid, that means your money. And if you don't have to pay for it and you can get it free, we call that free energy. But you know that they try any form or fashion to keep you from having just that, to be out of their system and producing it energy independence. So yeah, they're trying to preserve their pocketbooks, money coming into them. So of course they're going to have a problem with it. Ah, there go my friend. I the guy's on here now giving the question. You guys should watch his channel. That uses Nikolai Tesla's device. It's not MOSFETs, even though he uses a MOSFET in his ringer. And the ringer, it puts out those high transient spikes. But when he uses the apparatus from Nikolai Tesla's patent, it produces amps. And then he hooks the two systems together, one that produces voltage and one that produces amps. And I wanted him to talk about that because the simple fact is that when everybody start doing that simple little thing, they're going to be making all these different devices that's just uh that's going to be crazy, man. It's going to be free energy for everybody. And it started back using Nikolai Tesla's energy, and everybody keeps saying that um or mentioning about Nikolai Tesla. And that's when people get upset and they say Tesla, 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 which I did a video on that. But the whole simple fact is that if you understand his work, you're going to understand that, look, this guy knew how to use transient energy before he was even coined transient energy. So as soon as you start to understand Mtech's, what he's doing, you're going to start to see he's doing this basically without MOSFETs. Now he does have a MOSFET on his super ringer, but that's just for a high switch. Okay, so but it's the device that comes after the high switch, which produces the current, and everybody's looking for that current to get it out, especially if they're going to use solar um, with LED lights, because you get just voltage from that, not current. But the simple fact is that when you can use what he's using, MTech, then all the simple fact is now you're going to start getting this current back out, and you're not even really using a uh, a MOSFET. And I call it's a energy trap. So I call it a trap. So that means this trap is now going to convert these frequencies into current. So in my book, I call it a trap. But those are my terms. Those are my terms. Again, when you're talking to somebody and they can't see something, you try to use colorful words to get a person to get an image in their mind. So yeah, I'm not using these words as their technical uses. I use them so people can understand. So yeah, I call MOSFETs generators and stuff. But this is because I'm trying to get you to see that this thing is vibrating like a bell. Uh, and it's going back and forth so fast. And then once it strikes that bell, is actually putting out high spikes of transit energy. So therefore, I can relate it to a generator. Uh, this they would call it a linear generator. It wouldn't be one running in a circle, but this one goes back and forth. So they call that a linear generator. But people have a problem with that and tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. So that's the reason why I put the books out there, and then you just follow the math and the design is in the book, and you guys will get it. And what's we can clear that up too. I'm using a transistor. So a transistor is a some people call them MOSFETs, and some people call them transistors. And so they're all transistors. It's just some are bigger than the other. So if anybody is telling you what type of transistors that you're using, because there's a whole lot of different types of transistors, just say transistor. That way you don't get in an argument with the this is a MOSFET, this is not a MOSFET. Again, people do that to keep you from doing the thing. It's a transistor. Don't matter what you call it, it's going to be a transistor. It's just again, a MOSFET is just a powerhouse, and the transistors are normally small and take less power. But after you go up with a transistor on so big, then they start calling it a MOSFET, and then they got different names after those MOSFETs get so big. So I did a video on that showing you the different sizes in the MOSFETs, so you could see that they make giant MOSFETs and they make tiny MOSFETs. But then when they get so small, then they call them transistors because all of them are transistors. That means you guys may be in the same family, but you're all called different names. Just put it that way. That's a good way to explain it. You may all come from the same person, the same thing, in the same family, but you all have different names. And see, you got to understand that this is going to be a debate that's going to go on forever because everybody has a specific name on what they're calling it and stuff. But it's a transistor. So look at what Mtech is calling it himself. He says a transistor, then use a transistor. It's just here's a difference between what me, my idea of a transistor doesn't have a aluminum backing to it. When you put aluminum backing to it, then it becomes a MOSFET. Transistors don't get that hot because if they do, they pop and they're no good anymore. So if you're running that thing at high speeds, you're going to damage a transistor. So that when it becomes a transistor and then they change the name, even though it's still a transistor, they call them MOSFET because it has that aluminum back with the hole in the top of it. That's a MOSFET. And there's different types of MOSFETs. So again, they're being technical. They're not exactly wrong, but they're grasping at small little imperfections on how people keep us confused.